For many years, Hollywood has quietly whispered about Diane Lane's love life. The stunning actress, known for her grace, talent, and timeless beauty, has been surrounded by stories of secret romances and hidden heartbreak. But now, at 60, Diane is finally speaking openly about her past and what really happened behind all those rumors. Throughout her long career, she has been one of Hollywood's most respected actresses, admired not only for her acting skills, but also for how she carried herself with elegance and strength. Still, behind her calm and charming public image, there were real challenges, broken relationships, personal struggles, and painful lessons that shaped who she is today. The truth, as Diane explains it now, is not as simple as the tabloids made it seem. Her story is not just about scandals and rumors. It's about survival, self-discovery, and learning what love truly means. After decades of fame and heartbreak, Diane Lane was born on January 22, 1965, in New York City. Her mother, Colleen Farrington, was a nightclub singer and Playboy model, while her father, Burton Eugene Lane, was a drama coach and cab driver. From the outside, her life looked glamorous, a young girl born into the world of art and fame. But behind closed doors, things were far from perfect. Her parents had a passionate but troubled relationship, full of love, arguments, and ambition that constantly clashed. When Diane was just a baby, her parents' marriage fell apart, and her childhood turned unstable. Her father won custody, which was unusual at that time, but he struggled financially. Diane grew up in a small apartment above a theater in New York, surrounded by actors and scripts, instead of a traditional family environment. Despite the difficulties, she loved her father deeply and admired his creative spirit. Her mother, meanwhile, moved to Georgia, appearing in and out of her life, leaving Diane feeling torn between two worlds, the artistic chaos of New York and the distant glamour of her mother's life. Diane's early years were filled with confusion, change, and longing for stability. The biggest turning point came when she was just 13 years old. Her mother suddenly took her to Georgia without her father's permission. It was not a kidnapping in the usual sense, but it left Diane feeling trapped and confused. She had always been independent and strong-willed, and at just 14, she made a brave and shocking decision. She ran away from Georgia and returned to New York on her own. She began living independently, a teenager surviving alone in the city. This early experience shaped her in powerful ways. It taught her that love could be unreliable, and that sometimes the people you trust most could let you down. Because of this, Diane grew up believing that she had to depend on herself. These experiences also influenced how she approached relationships in the future. She became cautious about love, protective of her emotions, and determined to never lose her independence again. This balance between vulnerability and strength would later define both her career and personal life. Diane's introduction to acting happened naturally. Surrounded by theater from a young age, she began performing at just 6 years old. Her father encouraged her passion, and soon her talent was undeniable. At age 13, she starred in A Little Romance 1979, alongside the legendary Laurence Olivier. Critics praised her performance and predicted a bright future. Diane quickly became Hollywood's new favorite rising star. In the 1980s, she starred in hits like The Outsiders and Rumblefish, films that defined a generation. She stood out not only for her beauty but also for her emotional depth and intelligence. Directors admired her professionalism, and audiences connected with her sincerity. But fame came with pressure. A few box office disappointments in the mid-1980s temporarily slowed her career. Instead of giving up, Diane took a step back, refined her craft, and came back stronger. In the 1990s, she reinvented herself with roles that showcased her maturity and complexity, earning respect as one of Hollywood's most talented and enduring actresses. Behind her successful career, Diane's personal life was filled with both romance and heartbreak. Her first major relationship was with actor Christopher Lambert, known for Highlander. The two met in the 1980s, fell in love, and married in 1988. They had a daughter, Eleanor, and for a while, it seemed Diane had found the stable, loving family she had always dreamed of. But Hollywood marriages are rarely simple. The demands of fame, long film schedules, and constant media attention took their toll. The couple divorced in 1994 after 6 years together. The split was deeply painful for Diane, not only because of the love she lost, but also because she wanted to give her daughter the kind of stability she never had growing up. This heartbreak changed her outlook on love. She became more private and cautious about relationships. The experience taught her that even when love feels right, it can still fall apart under the weight of fame and expectations. After her divorce, Diane focused on rebuilding her life and career. Her comeback began with A Walk on the Moon, 1999, where she played a woman torn between family duty and personal desire. The performance was powerful and emotional, showing a deeper, more mature side of Diane. But it was her 2002 film, Unfaithful, that became a turning point. Playing a suburban wife caught in an affair, she delivered a breathtaking performance filled with raw emotion. The role earned her an Academy Award nomination and critical acclaim. Audiences were captivated by how real her performance felt, so much so that rumors began swirling about whether she was drawing from personal experience. the tabloids speculated endlessly about her real-life relationships, often blurring the line between fact and fiction. For Diane, this intense attention was both flattering and exhausting. She realized that fame could easily turn personal pain into public gossip, and once again, she retreated into privacy, choosing to protect her peace over chasing headlines. Throughout her life, Diane has been linked to several famous names and relationships confirmed, others based purely on speculation. She was rumored to have dated actors like Timothy Hutton, Matt Dillon, and even musician John Bon Jovi during the 1980s. While many of these stories were likely exaggerated, they helped create the image of Diane as a mysterious and passionate woman. Her marriage to actor Josh Brolin in 2004 became another chapter filled with both love and controversy. Though the two shared a deep bond, their relationship faced difficulties, including a public incident where Brolin was arrested after an argument. Diane later described it as a misunderstanding, but the media turned it into a scandal. The constant spotlight made their marriage harder to maintain, and they eventually divorced in 2013. Despite the pain, Diane handled it all with grace, never attacking her ex publicly or feeding the gossip. She remained focused on her daughter, her work, and her peace of mind, refusing to let scandal define her. Being one of Hollywood's most admired actresses came with heavy pressure. The entertainment industry often tries to control the image of its stars, how they dress, who they date, and how they appear in public. For Diane, this meant her personal life was never truly private. Every photo, every friendship, every moment of vulnerability became a potential headline. This constant attention made it difficult for her to trust people. Was someone interested in her for who she really was, or because she was a Hollywood star? Over time, Diane learned to protect herself. She focused on her career and her daughter rather than seeking love in the public eye. She once said that fame may open doors, but it also traps you in a glass box where everyone can see your struggles. Her ability to remain kind, calm, and grounded despite that pressure is one reason why fans continue to admire her today. Even after decades in the spotlight, she has never lost her authenticity. What makes Diane Lane's story remarkable is not just her fame or beauty, it's her resilience. She faced a chaotic childhood, heartbreak, and public scrutiny, yet she never let any of it destroy her spirit. Instead, she transformed her pain into power. Each role she played carried pieces of her real experience, strength, longing, vulnerability, and independence. These qualities made her performances unforgettable. Over the years, she learned that silence can be stronger than shouting back at rumors. By refusing to constantly defend herself, she showed that she didn't owe the world her private truth. Still, at 60, when she chooses to share parts of her story, it's not for drama, it's for reflection. She speaks now with peace and wisdom, not regret. Her message is clear. Everyone faces heartbreak, but it doesn't have to define you. What defines you is how you rise after the fall, and how you continue to love yourself when others don't understand your journey. Today, Diane Lane lives life on her own terms. She no longer believes in the fairy tale version of love that Hollywood often sells. Instead, she sees love as something beautiful but imperfect, a part of life that teaches rather than defines. She has found happiness in her career, her daughter, and the simple joys of life. She continues to take on challenging roles that allow her to explore new emotional depths as an actress. Beyond acting, she values privacy and balance. Even after decades in the film industry, Diane Lane never lost her passion for acting. In fact, as she entered her 50s, she found herself more in love with her craft than ever before. She often says that with age comes freedom, the freedom to stop caring about other people's expectations. Earlier in her career, she felt pressured to look perfect, to choose roles that kept her in the spotlight, and to maintain an image that fit Hollywood's narrow idea of beauty. But now, Diane feels free to explore complex, mature roles that mirror her own growth as a woman. Films like Under the Tuscan Sun and Secretariat allowed her to showcase women who rebuild their lives after heartbreak, characters who start over, find hope again, and rediscover joy in unexpected places. These roles weren't just performances. They reflected her own emotional journey. Diane says that acting has always been her therapy, a way to release pain, express truth, and connect with the world in a meaningful way. Through every character, she continues to heal parts of herself. Growing older in Hollywood is never easy, especially for women. The industry often celebrates youth and sidelines actresses once they pass a certain age. Diane has spoken openly about this double standard. She believes that women's stories don't end after 40, and that in many ways, life becomes richer, more layered, and more beautiful with age. Instead of trying to look younger, she embraces her age with confidence. Her natural beauty and grace continue to captivate audiences because they come from authenticity, not perfection. She once said in an interview, "There's a quiet power in accepting who you are, lines and all." Diane refuses to chase artificial beauty standards. She believes that real elegance comes from experience, from surviving heartbreak, learning patience, and staying true to yourself even when the world tells you to change. Her courage to age gracefully has inspired many women in the entertainment industry and beyond to see aging not as a loss, but as a privilege that brings wisdom and depth. Over the years, Diane Lane's relationships, both public and private, taught her valuable lessons about love. She admits that when she was younger, she often confused love with passion. She believed that deep emotions and strong chemistry meant something lasting. But as she matured, she learned that love isn't about constant excitement, it's about peace, understanding, and respect. She also learned that being alone doesn't mean being lonely. For much of her life, she feared solitude, perhaps because her childhood was filled with instability and loss. But now, she finds strength in solitude. She spends time reading, painting, traveling quietly, and enjoying her own company. Diane once said that some of the happiest moments in her life came when she wasn't in a relationship at all. She found that being single allowed her to reconnect with herself, to understand her values, her dreams, and her boundaries. Today, she encourages others to see solitude not as emptiness but as space for growth and self-love. It's one of the greatest lessons she's ever learned. Among all her achievements, Oscars, awards, and decades of fame, Diane says her most meaningful role has always been being a mother. Her daughter, Eleanor Lambert, has grown into a talented writer and model, and their bond remains one of the strongest constants in Diane's life. When Eleanor was young, Diane often turned down major roles so she could spend more time with her. She knew what it felt like to grow up with an absent parent, and she was determined not to repeat that pattern. As Eleanor grew older, she began to understand and admire her mother's sacrifices. Today, the two share a deep friendship filled with love and mutual respect. Diane says that being a mother taught her more about patience and unconditional love than any movie ever could. It also helped her see the world differently. She realized that fame, awards, and public opinion are temporary, but family is forever. Watching her daughter grow into a confident, kind woman remains one of Diane's proudest accomplishments. One of Diane Lane's most admirable qualities is her ability to stay quiet in a world that constantly demands attention. In Hollywood, where stars often use social media to stay relevant, Diane chooses silence. She has no need to overshare or explain herself. When scandals or rumors appear, she doesn't rush to respond. She lets time reveal the truth. This calmness, which once made some people call her mysterious, is now seen as strength. Diane believes that silence can be powerful, especially when the world is loud with judgment and gossip. She once said, "You don't always have to defend your truth. Sometimes living it is enough." This philosophy has helped her maintain dignity even during difficult times. Her silence is not weakness, it's self-respect. It's her way of saying that she doesn't owe anyone her pain or her explanations. This quiet confidence has become her signature, proof that you can remain graceful even when surrounded by noise. For many years, Diane's life revolved around her career. She was constantly working, traveling from set to set, balancing motherhood, fame, and personal struggles. But in recent years, she has found a new rhythm. She has learned to balance her professional life with moments of stillness and peace. Instead of chasing every role, she now chooses projects that speak to her soul. She enjoys spending time in nature, gardening, and reading poetry. These simple pleasures, she says, remind her of what truly matters. She's also involved in charitable work, supporting causes related to mental health, education, and the environment. Diane believes that giving back brings real fulfillment that kind fame never could. By slowing down, she has discovered a different kind of happiness, one that doesn't depend on red carpets or cameras. She once said, "I spent so much of my life performing for others. Now, I perform for myself." That quiet statement perfectly captures her new chapter of life, defined not by Hollywood standards, but by peace and purpose. Interestingly, as Diane aged gracefully and took on more meaningful roles, Hollywood began to change too. There's now a growing appreciation for mature actresses who bring emotional intelligence and depth to their work. Directors and writers have started creating roles that reflect the real experiences of women. Over 40 stories about resilience, second chances, and rediscovering joy. Diane has become one of the icons of this new movement. Her performances in series like House of Cards and Why The Last Man proved that powerful storytelling doesn't depend on youth but on authenticity. She continues to challenge stereotypes and inspire younger actresses to see aging as empowerment, not decline. Many of her fans say that she represents timeless femininity, a blend of strength, grace, and emotional truth that never fades. As more audiences demand real stories about women's lives, Diane's career continues to thrive, proving that passion and purpose have no expiration date. If Diane Lane could speak to her younger self, what would she say? In several interviews, she shared that she would tell that teenage girl, confused, heartbroken, and brave, to be patient. She'd tell her that life doesn't always follow the plans we make, but that every setback carries a lesson.